tracing its roots back over 1,000 years. Its history is a rich and complex tapestry of political intrigue, dynastic struggles, and personal triumphs and tragedies. From the Norman conquest of 1066 to the present day, the British royal family has played a central role in shaping the history of England and later the United Kingdom. The British royal family can be traced back to William the Conqueror, who led the Norman invasion of England in 1066. William's victory marked the end of Anglo-Saxon rule and the beginning of a new era in English history. The Norman monarchs, including William's successors, William II, Henry I, and Stephen, consolidated their power and established a strong centralized government. The 12th century saw the rise of the Plantagenet dynasty, which ruled England for over 300 years. The Plantagenets, including Henry II, Richard IV, and Henry III, were known for their military prowess and their involvement in the Crusades. However, the dynasty was also marked by internal strife, including the civil war known as the Anarchy. The 15th century saw the end of the Plantagenet dynasty and the beginning of the Wars of the Roses, a series of dynastic conflicts between the House of Lancaster and the House of York. The wars eventually led to the victory of Henry Tudor, who became King Henry VII in 1485. The Tudor dynasty was one of the most significant periods in British history. Under the Tudors, England emerged as a major European power and underwent a period of religious and cultural transformation. The Tudor monarchs, including Henry VIII, Edward VI, Mary I, and Elizabeth I, were all strong and charismatic leaders who left a lasting mark on the country. Henry VIII is perhaps the most famous Tudor monarch. He is best known for his break with the Catholic Church and his establishment of the Church of England. Edward VI was a young and sickly king who died at the age of 15. Mary I was a devout Catholic who attempted to restore England to the Catholic Church. However, her reign was unpopular, and she was succeeded by her half-sister, Elizabeth I. Elizabeth I was one of the greatest monarchs in English history. She presided over a period of peace and prosperity known as the Golden Age. She also oversaw the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588, which confirmed England's status as a major naval power. The Tudor dynasty ended with the death of Elizabeth I in 1603. The throne then passed to James VI of Scotland, who became King James I of England. The Stuarts were a Scottish royal family, and their reign was marked by religious and political tensions. James I was a strong believer in the divine right of kings, and he clashed with Parliament over his attempts to expand royal power. Charles I, James I's son, succeeded to the throne in 1625. Charles's reign was even more tumultuous than his father's. He was involved in a bitter struggle with Parliament over taxes and religion, which eventually led to the English Civil War. The war ended in 1649 with the execution of Charles I and the establishment of a republic. Oliver Cromwell, a military leader who had played a key role in the defeat of Charles I, became the Lord Protector of England. Cromwell ruled England as a military dictator. Charles II's reign was a period of relative peace and prosperity. He was a popular monarch who was known for his wit and charm. However, his reign was also marked by the Great Plague of London in 1665 and the Great Fire of London in 1666. Charles II died without legitimate heirs, and the throne passed to his brother, James II. James II was a Catholic, and his reign was unpopular with many Protestants. He was overthrown in the Glorious Revolution of 1688, and his Protestant daughter, Mary II, and her husband, William III, were crowned joint monarchs. The Hanoverian dynasty was a German royal family that ruled England from 1714 to 1901. The first Hanoverian monarch was George I, who was the great-grandson of James I. George I was a German prince who spoke little English and had little interest in British affairs. However, he was a Protestant, and his accession to the throne ensured that the British monarchy would remain Protestant. George I's son, George II, was a more engaged monarch than his father. He took a more active role in British politics and military affairs. George III, George VI's son, was the longest reigning British monarch. His reign was marked by a number of significant events, including the American Revolution, the French Revolution, and the Napoleonic Wars. George III also suffered from bouts of mental illness, and during his later years, his son, George IV, acted as regent. George IV was a flamboyant and extravagant monarch who was known for his love of art and fashion. He was also a patron of the arts, and his reign saw a flourishing of British culture. However, George IV was also unpopular with the public, and his reign was marked by a number of scandals. William IV, George IV's younger brother, succeeded to the throne in 1830. William IV was a more popular monarch than his brother, and his reign saw a number of progressive reforms, including the abolition of slavery in the British Empire. However, William IV died without legitimate heirs, and the throne passed to his niece Victoria. Queen Victoria was the last monarch of the Hanoverian dynasty. She reigned for 64 years, longer than any other British monarch, and her reign is known as the Victorian era. The Victorian era was a period of great prosperity and progress for Britain. The country became the world's leading industrial power, and its empire expanded to its greatest extent. The Victorian era was also a time of great social and cultural change as new technologies, such as the steam engine and the telegraph, transformed the way people lived and worked. Victoria was a popular and respected monarch, and she is considered one of the greatest British monarchs. She was a devoted wife and mother, and she set a high standard of morality for her subjects. However, Victoria's later years were marked by grief as she mourned the death of her beloved husband, Prince Albert, in 1861. Victoria's son, Edward VII, succeeded to the throne in 1901. Edward VII was a popular monarch who was known for his cosmopolitanism and his love of the arts. He also played a significant role in strengthening Britain's alliances with France and Russia. Edward VII's son, George V, succeeded to the throne in 1910. George V was a shy and introverted monarch, but he was also a devoted husband and father. He worked to modernize the monarchy and to make it more relevant to the changing times. George V's reign was marked by a number of significant events, including World War I, the Russian Revolution, and the rise of the Labor Party. George V's son, Edward VIII succeeded to the throne in 1936. However, Edward VIII abdicated after only 326 days in order to marry his American mistress, Wallis Simpson. Edward VIII's younger brother, George VI, then became king. George VI was a reluctant monarch, but he proved to be a popular and respected leader. He rallied the British people during World War II, and he is credited with helping to maintain morale during the dark days of the war. George VI died in 1952, and his daughter, Elizabeth II, succeeded to the throne. Queen Elizabeth II is the longest reigning British monarch. She has reigned for over 60 years, and her reign has been marked by a number of significant events, including the end of the British Empire, the Cold War, and the rise of the Internet. Elizabeth II is a popular and respected monarch, and she is considered one of the greatest British monarchs. In recent years, the British royal family has faced a number of challenges, including the public scrutiny of their personal lives and the rising cost of supporting the monarchy. However, the royal family remains a popular institution, and it continues to play an important role in British national life. The British royal family can teach us a number of valuable lessons about leadership, duty, and public service. The monarchs have a long history of serving their country and their people, and they have often done so with great dedication and sacrifice. We can also learn from the royal family's commitment to family and tradition. The monarchy is a symbol of stability and continuity in a rapidly changing world, and it can provide a sense of comfort and security for many people. Of course, the British royal family is not without its flaws. The monarchy has been criticized for its wealth, its privilege, and its lack of transparency. However, the royal family also has a number of strengths, and it can be a force for good in the world. The monarchs have a platform to raise awareness of important issues, and they can use their influence to promote positive change.